Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know, from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars. Topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
Welcome to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. Of course, the GSMC Podcast Network. Please check it out if you haven't already. We do basketball, football, baseball, soccer, of course, a sports podcast daily, and don't forget about fantasy football as well. We have a lot of things to talk about today in the world.
Don't forget about me.
In the world of basketball. Do you want to know something cool?
What's cool?
The year that Jimmer was a senior and I filled out a March Madness bracket, my March Madness bracket name was Don't You Forget About Me. I didn't win any money.
Good. With that
but you have to admit that was a good pun.
Clever, but you don't deserve to win with that kind of name.
Ha-ha! Anyways, Jimmer, what's he up to in China? Is he still killing it?
Probably got an 85-point game, probably. I don't know.
We're going to talk about...
What's he averaging?
I don't know. He had that big game, though. I know that. We're going to talk about a few things today. Tom Thibodeau being fired. Where does Minnesota and the Timberwolves go from here? We'll hear from some of the players and their reactions. We'll also talk about the San Antonio Spurs as they continue to win. We'll talk about the Lakers and how they've been faring without LeBron James lately and when he should return. The Rockets, also another team that's been hot lately. We'll see how they've been doing. And, of course, we'll talk about Kevin Love. We'll talk about Enes Kanter. Some big games that are coming up today and tomorrow night before we do our next podcast on Thursday, including the Timberwolves back in action. First time without Tom Thibodeau and what the reaction will be. So we got to jump into it, Jeff.
Let's do it.
Tom Thibodeau was fired. When you heard the news, were you shocked by that?
After a 22-point victory against the LA Lakers, yes.
It was a weird timing, huh?
Yeah, it was like, it's like you should really do it after
one of their best wins of the season.
Yeah.
Maybe their best win. I'm not sure, but one of them.
Yeah, it was bad timing, obviously. But he was one of those it was one of those moments it was probably time to move on from him because he gave up so much. He gave away, there was a perfect draft. There was 4 first-round draft picks the Rockets were offering for Jimmy Butler, and you don't take it. After that, saying you should be fired after that, not agreeing to that deal. How often are you getting that deal?
Well, the problem is you got to think about it from his perspective, right? If he
I
turned down that
understand.
deal, he probably already knew he was on the hot seat and needed to win now. 4 first-round draft picks doesn't help him win today.
I don't know. I think if I was the owner, I'd be like, you gave us 4 first-round draft picks for him. I think you deserve a little bit of a leeway.
We also can't forget that he was also team president. So he was not just head coach.
Yeah.
He was team president, so he had a lot of
He
power.
got so much power, and then the GM was like, bye. See ya. But I want to be ya.
It makes you wonder.
In his office.
It makes you wonder how long the Timberwolves have been thinking about this move. How long do you think they've been thinking about firing Tom Thibodeau? Because it's early in the season. We're talking about before the halfway point. Yeah, they're not having the season they wanted, but they did have to trade maybe their best player, one of their best players. They had, a sticky situation. Whether we agree with Thibodeau's trade, like what he got back for Jimmy Butler, we have to agree that they needed to trade him. They needed to move on. And it's not like any coach would have had a good situation going into this season. It's hard to see that this team would be a winning team with any other coach, no?
Yeah, it was starting off pretty rough, all things considered, so this was only going to end one way.
And it ends, of course, with Tom Thibodeau fired.
It was only a matter of time.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone expected that, though. It was like, I don't think anyone expected him to finish off the season.
So Minnesota does play before their next home game, but their next home game will be Friday against the Mavericks, where they will have their new coach, interim coach, the son of legendary Minnesota Timberwolves coach Flip Saunders, Ryan Saunders, 32 years old. He takes over for Tom Thibodeau. What was your reaction hearing that Ryan Saunders, son of Flip Saunders, will be the next, at least interim coach of the Timberwolves?
It's a good chance for him to try to get a full-time job there, but I don't see him getting the full-time job. There's rumblings about Chauncey Billups being the new GM / head coach type of thing, which that's a bit of a risk in my opinion, just getting someone that's completely new, because I don't think he has any coaching experience.
Right.
But, I mean, for Saunders, I think it's one of those things where you just got to take the opportunity and make the most of it. That's all you could do. If you win a couple games, you might keep your job.
So we know that sports franchises are in the entertainment business, right?
Yeah.
They need to sell tickets. They need to sell not just tickets, but they need to get fans excited about the team. Merchandise, obviously TV contracts. Do you think that the timing of this and them appointing Flip Saunders' son as interim head coach is kind of a way for them to maybe boost season ticket sales? Because this is a time of year where teams ask current season ticket holders to renew for next season. Some fans who were maybe, disenchanted by what was happening this year with this drama, they trade Jimmy Butler. Maybe this is like, hey, look, we're bringing in Flip Saunders' son. We have a new thing going, a new focus. Do you think the timing and who it was that took over made a difference kind of when it comes to ticket sales in that regard?
I think it's more along the lines of they got to just trust a loyal fan base. Mm-hmm. Because what else can you say? What else can you promote? Like, seriously, like you can promote Cat, and that's all you got right now.
Maybe Wiggins, yeah.
What else can you do?
Derrick Rose.
Like, you got to just hope for the best.
So we've heard rumors that Fred Hoiberg might be the man to take over as the head coach at some point. Probably not now, since they did appoint Ryan Saunders interim coach. So maybe in the off season, maybe before that. Who knows? Is Fred Hoiberg the guy that Minnesota should be targeting?
I don't know. It's a thin line, isn't it?
It's funny that he followed Tom Thibodeau in Chicago. He could follow Tom Thibodeau in Minnesota.
But wouldn't Thibodeau say maybe avoid this if you're learning from experience?
Who knows?
Would you talk to Thibodeau though after that? After all this, would you what's it like in Minnesota?
Oh, you mean from a prospective coach point of view? Yeah, sure. I mean, absolutely.
I mean, it's something to think about.
Yeah, you'd want to hear his side. You'd want to hear how he was treated.
Yeah. Well, he got the president job also, so he was probably treated decent, I would say. But I think
that makes me the timing is weird to me because he was the president, right? If you trusted him to make basketball decisions, not just on the court but off the court, why not see his project through? He traded Butler. Let's see if it works, right? He didn't even get a chance. He got 12, 15 games with this team. I don't know. Yeah,
it's kind of a gray area, isn't it?
I mean, they're 19 and 21. It's not like they've fallen off a cliff.
No, they're still in contention.
They're 5-5 in their last 10. They had a 2-game winning streak.
Do you think there was a reason we don't know about? There was a hidden reason?
Maybe it was the way they handled the trade. You could be right in that regard. Maybe
because what did they really get for Jimmy Butler?
Owner in the front office,
they didn't really get much for him, did they?
Well, maybe the owner in the front office did want the 4 first-round picks. We don't know that. But the problem is when you appoint somebody to be the head coach and also in charge of personnel decisions, you're going to run into a situation where he's looking out for himself more than the franchise, right?
Yeah.
Like when you don't have two different people.
He was thinking
having
more
that
of himself
job.
than the franchise. Maybe that's why people got that. Maybe they got the wrong impression. Like, oh, you're thinking about yourself rather than the whole team's sake.
Yeah, you were thinking
More
too
selfish.
short-sighted.
Yeah. And what do you really? Are those guys you got for the trade really going to boost this team into a championship?
I will say though, the time that they turned down the 4 draft picks from Houston, we were talking about how because Houston was terrible at that time. They were one of the worst teams in the league. Now they look good again. You know, not that you can project 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road. Not that what they're doing now means a difference, but it does. It is kind of interesting to kind of look back on it.
Yeah. I think there's way more that's being hidden. That's
Karl Anthony Towns, the franchise player, we can agree on that. He stated that no one saw it coming.
Yeah.
Do you think that he's just saying that, or do you think that he's being completely honest when he says, you know what, it's caught everybody by surprise?
Yeah. This whole thing is just like, this is so like we have no idea what's going on. All we know he's got fired. We really don't know anything about the firing or who likes it, who doesn't. This is so hidden. It's one of those hidden, you know what I mean? Like, the real reasons are being hidden from us, and usually we know when someone is being fired, but 19 and 21 is no reason to be fired.
Towns said that he told assistant coaches just last week that he felt the organization was starting to gain stability and that he was finally feeling comfortable within the scheme. Interesting timing, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said he felt like he jinxed it by saying that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't believe in that, but...
Yeah, it's hard to believe, isn't it? It's not a... This is always just a... It's just all strange, isn't it? There's not really a full-on perfect reason why.
They're 19 and 21. Like, they're not...
That's not bad at all. Like, there's coaches that are 9 and 20 or 9 and 30 that are still keeping their jobs. Why is he the one getting fired? It doesn't really make sense.
As of right now, they're only 2.5 games back of the playoffs.
But I think it's managerial decisions that cost him his job. I think it's the trade, maybe, but they were thinking about it more. Maybe they were thinking, all right, let's see how this trade goes. If it doesn't turn out well, then we'll fire him. I think that's my theory.
Yeah, maybe. What about so Derrick Rose? He was asked yesterday if he could continue to play well without Tom Thibodeau because, of course, Tom Thibodeau believed in him, brought him with him, gave him another chance. Mm-hmm. He unfortunately told anyone who thinks that he can't do it still to go kill themselves.
That was a little much.
Which he has walked back on. Of course, he's
obviously that crossed some lines. You don't tell someone to kill. Especially in this day and age where online bullying is happening and a lot of suicides.
Mental health.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just. I understand he was frustrated by all the critics, but not the right term of words. Like there is some lines you don't cross, and telling someone to go kill yourself. That's
not the best.
That's the worst. Probably the worst thing you could say.
And to be fair. We live in very sensitive times.
Mm-hmm.
People don't
but this is a time that, especially with mental health, just saying kill yourself in general is just something never should be said.
And I understand Derrick Rose too. Like
there's two sides to this. He just said the wrong thing. He said the wrong thing. Let's be honest. But we understand why he said it. He was getting annoyed, but he burst it out in the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. It's a figure of speech, really. Yeah. Like he's not saying. Actually go murder yourself.
Yeah, but
he's saying
but you never just say that.
It's his way of saying shut up, right?
Yeah. I understand if he said shut up, this wouldn't be an issue. But he said kill yourself, and that's such a sensitive topic. And a lot of people have lost family members and loved ones to suicide, so it's just never something you should use just as a random phrase, you know? So that's why I understand why people are offended by it, because it's such a sensitive topic. I get that. And I understand his side because he was annoyed by the critics. So there's two different sides of this story. But obviously we agree that he shouldn't have said that.
Yep. I think that's what most people would say. No problem there. Do you think that Ryan Saunders has a chance to be the permanent head coach of Minnesota, let's say if they do decent? If they have a decent rest of the season?
Yeah. If they do have a decent rest of the season, I'll be like, well, why'd you fire him in the first place?
I'm not saying they need to make the playoffs, but what if they finish kind of where they are now? Like maybe around 500, maybe a little bit above 500, but they barely miss the playoffs. Do you think Ryan Saunders might get a chance with a long-term deal?
Oh, absolutely.
Even though he's young and he's never been the head coach
Well, I
in the
mean,
NBA?
there's so many young coaches that have turned out to be great. I mean, they have to start somewhere, right?
Or do you think that, cynically speaking, that he is only going to be there on a short-term basis to sell some tickets and then they'll
I
move
don't
on?
think, like, it depends on his performance.
We've heard that players – I know that Karl Anthony Towns says that they were surprised, but, you know, it seems like players don't like to play for Thibodeau.
Uh-huh.
Do
he seemed like everyone got someone people did not
he's
enjoy.
He's kind of a hard ass, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like he's just kind of a, you know, he can be tough to play for.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe that was the reason.
So with that being said, my question to you is, assuming that Tom Thibodeau is tough to deal with, can we kind of expect the Timberwolves just to play good and have fun for the next few months because it's not Tom Thibodeau running the team?
That's I don't know. That's an interesting question. But you see, they obviously can't go back on the firing now type of thing. It's a little too late. They can't really take it back. But
Do you think we'll see that bump? Like, you know, a lot of times a coach gets fired and we see a bump, like how the Browns in the NFL, they fire Hugh Jackson. And they got a bump, not just because they have a good team, but I mean, like, the players might enjoy themselves a little bit more.
Bad, they can't, like, obviously they can't go bad. But I'm saying that could be it.
Like a change of mindset, like, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, the problem is gone. You know what I mean?
Or now we can breathe and play free, you know, something like that. Like we
have
can
a little more fun.
Yeah,
because Thibodeau, it's like from the players are talking, it sounds like the coach made it not fun to play basketball. It was more of a job, and how a coach should do it is this game is fun.
Thibodeau, what we know, is very demanding. Right?
Absolutely,
like, and he can rub people the wrong way.
Yes, but the thing is with that is I always saw the fact that if a coach or made it not as fun or took it too seriously, I always thought if a coach makes it fun, if a coach lets the players enjoy themselves, made them do what they did, what they love to do is basketball, like why they love the sport for a reason, that's a good coach in my mind. It's not just X's and O's.
Right.
But I think Thibodeau is too much of an X's and O's guy. Does that make sense?
I agree.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. You're talking about he is very
like we were talking about on our football podcast, Gabo. Wow. Dabo, sorry. God,
Dabo Swinney, college football champion.
He's a fun guy. He's a fun-oriented guy. And look at this team's success. So
Yeah, we were talking about Dabo is the kind of coach that you'd want to have a beer with after the game. You're probably not saying that about Tom Thibodeau, is what you're getting at, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we need to go to a break, but before we do that, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about audiobooks. Audiobooks inspire us, motivate us, and bring us closer together. There's no better place to listen than with Audible. Audible has the largest selection of audiobooks on the planet, and now Audible members get more than ever before. Each month, you get 3 titles of your choice, 1 audiobook, 2 Audible originals, and fitness programs that you can't get anywhere else. There's never been a better time to experience Audible, and now you can try it free for 30 days by visiting audible.com/GSMCbook, or get out your smartphone and text the code GSMCbook to 500-500. Do this today and start that free 30-day trial.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. Now, we just talked about Tom Thibodeau being fired and where the Minnesota Timberwolves will go from here. I think we should flip the script a little bit. We should talk about a team right now that we were worried about. Earlier in the year on this very podcast, we talked about this team struggling. They had a big change in their lineup before the season started. But now, Jeff, this team is on a 5-game winning streak, the longest winning streak in the NBA. They're on fire, and this team is who?
I don't know.
The San Antonio Spurs.
Right. I was just leading you into that. That was like for the funsies.
5-game winning streak. Last night, on the road, at Detroit.
Not the longest of any team, but just longest right now.
The longest right now in the NBA. Current longest winning streak. They win at Detroit last night, 119 to 107. Again, 5 in a row, 12-point win on the road. This team is on fire. LaMarcus Aldridge, 25 points on 12 shots last night in 28 minutes. That's efficiency. That's what you like to see. DeMar DeRozan has continued his form, 26 points on 21 shots, 7 boards, 9 assists. Just getting it done in all aspects. We know he had that triple-double against the Raptors, and he has continued his hot play since then.
Yes.
You know, since the infamous Kawhi returns night.
Yeah, true. That was a statement game.
The last time we had a podcast was that the day of the game? It was before the game happened.
No, we had a after the game.
Did we?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I believe. Well,
we talked about it on the
basketball
sports podcast.
Oh, we talked about that. You're right.
Because was it Thursday or Friday night that they had?
I believe it was a Thursday night.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you're right.
So yeah, Kawhi's return.
We talked about it on sports podcast. It's hard. We do a lot of podcast people, so it's really hard to keep track of everything.
So I have to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
The Spurs started off tough to start to their season. Over the last few weeks now, they've lowered their points per game against. It's now at 108. They seem to be scoring more, giving up less. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They're on a 5-game winning streak. The current Spurs right now are 24-17. They're in the 6th spot. They're actually only 3 games back of first place. They're also 3 games away from being out of the playoffs. But is this Spurs team the team that we expect them to be for the rest of the season, or are they just a little bit, I don't know, on fire right now, and they'll kind of come back to earth and maybe be a fringe playoff team?
Well, the Spurs have never been the brief spark team. When they're consistent, regardless who's playing. And with this, I do say that maybe with DeMar DeRozan, this team can make a run. DeMar's been playing amazing.
They're 17-5 at home, which is really good. They're 7-12 on the road.
You know, DeMar DeRozan wasn't the guy in Toronto. It was Lowry. DeMar DeRozan's the guy in San Antonio.
You don't think he was the guy in Toronto?
I think Lowry was ahead of him. I think fans believe that too.
Yeah, they were basically.
Have you watched the Game of Zones thing on Bleacher Report?
I mean, they were
Lowry
the
was
two
the guy.
guys. You know, they were.
Yeah. But if you had to put one higher than the other, it was Lowry. I hate to say it. I thought DeMar DeRozan's better, and it's kind of proven since he left. But I think Lowry was just wasn't he there first? Or were they the same?
I want to say that DeRozan was there first.
It's a gray area.
Yeah. So, anyways, you expect the Spurs to make the playoffs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Low seed, but yes.
So they're a 6th seed right now. Would you be surprised if they got higher than that?
No. I can see him going to 4 or 5. No higher than 4. But 4 is still good. 4 is really
ahead of them right now is Houston and the Clippers. So yeah, they could go higher. They're actually tied with both of those teams in terms of record at this time.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit lower in percentage because the games don't match, but in terms of games back, they're even. So they could be in 4th place by the end of this week, possibly. All right, let's shift gears. A team that has been struggling lately for different reasons. But we have to talk about, of course, the LeBron James-less Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, that's a whole can of worms in its own, isn't it?
They get their second win without LeBron last night. In fact, they were coming off that big loss to Minnesota, but the Lakers bounced back and win 107-97-2 against Dallas last night. Dallas has not lost too many games at home, so beating them at home is a good result for the Lakers, a road team playing on the second night of a back-to-back. So after the game against the Timberwolves, Coach Luke Walton was a little bit critical of Brandon Ingram, of Lonzo Ball, saying they need to take the game. Like, they need to come out with more energy. They're just saying they need to bring it every night, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Well, last night...
Shocking, right?
Let's see how they did after that. Brandon Ingram played 37 minutes last night. He scored 29 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds on 21 shots. Lonzo Ball had 21 points, 5 assists, 7 rebounds on 15 shots. So it looks like they maybe took those comments to heart, because they really stepped up last night, right?
Oh, yeah, they did. They took a foot, and they went right. They took another foot, and went straight, and they kept going straight. Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot.
That's an interesting way to put that. I've never heard that before.
You're welcome.
I wasn't saying
I know.
thanks.
I know. I'm just about to do.
Kyle Kuzma made his return. He played 37 minutes, 13 points. He had a tough
37 minutes?
You know what's funny? The Lakers played heavy minutes last night. I know they needed to because it was a close game. But Kuzma, Ingram, Ball played 37 minutes. And Josh Hart played 44 of 48 minutes last night. Isn't that crazy?
That is pretty crazy. That's a long time.
Talking about a game that did not go into overtime. So 44
How
minutes.
exhausted do you think he was?
And this was the second night of a back-to-back. Let's not forget.
So, obviously, he was more than exhausted.
Lance Stevenson barely got on the court. 3 minutes. He shot the ball twice because, of course, he did. He shoots every time it seems like he gets the ball on offense. Last night was a rare Lakers win. Usually when they don't shoot great from three, they lose. They didn't shoot great from three, but they won.
Mm-hmm.
Luka Doncic, 27 points in 35 minutes, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. He's still impressive, huh?
Yeah.
Like, seems like he's not slowing down anytime.
Oh, no. Maybe in the next 4 or 5 years he's slowing down, but not right now, no.
So LeBron James, they say he's going to miss at least another couple games.
He's so impactful still that when he's not on the team, they're doing bad.
So the Lakers, next 3 games, I think he's going to miss all 3 of these games, if I'm being completely honest.
Oh, yeah. I think they're going to take their sweet old time with this.
So they host the Pistons. Then they're on the road to Utah.
They don't need him for those.
And then they host the Cavaliers. And then they host the Bulls.
Should they play him against the Cavaliers just because of the team?
So looking at the schedule, their next 4 games, they don't play anybody that is above 500. The Pistons, the Jazz, the Cavs, and the Bulls. And then, get this, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm getting it.
I think they should rest him because then, look at this run of games. They play the Thunder away, the Rockets away, and then the Warriors at home.
They have to have him for those games.
So maybe they rest him just a little bit longer.
Yes.
This week.
Absolutely.
Can this team win the next 3 out of 4 without him, even though they play a favorable schedule?
They are playing pretty weak teams, so it's possible. But
I mean, they did just get beat by the Knicks at home. They got blown out by the T-Wolves.
These guys need experience without LeBron, so I think it's probably a learning experience rather than anything else. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Good.
So, another team that's been playing really well after a tough start. We talked about them briefly in the first segment, but the Houston Rockets, they beat the Denver Nuggets. The number 1 seed Denver Nuggets in the West fall to the Rockets 125-113 in Houston. James Harden I mean, what can you say? We've been talking about him for a couple weeks now. 32 points on 18 shots. He shot 15 threes.
That's like 40 less than he usually shoots.
He shoots 15 threes last night, makes 6, has 14 assists, man. That's an incredible game, right? 32 and 14. That's setting up a lot of teammates in addition to scoring the ball well.
Yes. 14 assists is a very good number for him. And 18 shots is a big improvement on his 50-some-odd shots he did the other night. So, I really don't like the fact people are thinking he's the best scorer in the league because he's shooting 50 times. If anyone that shot 50 times, they would be just as scoring as much as he is, no? Would you agree? Or do you not?
I mean, I think he still scores at a higher rate than anyone.
I agree he scores at a high level, but when you shoot 50 times, you're going to get a lot of points, no?
I mean, what game did he actually shoot 50 times in?
The game last week.
He shot 50 times?
It was 48.
What game?
I got to look. I got to find it. But I remember we talked about
the Warriors game?
Might have been, but I have to look way back. But I'm pretty sure.
He shot 32 times against the Warriors.
He
shot 23 times from 3 against the Warriors. That's a lot. He's basically only shooting threes or layups nowadays.
Which,
I mean, it's kind of smart, but,
let's look at this year. He's averaging 22 attempts a game.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they showed me his high.
You can keep looking that up. I want to talk about Jokic on the Nuggets last night. 24 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists. Relatively good game. But again, the Rockets. Do you see the Rockets keep going forward in their ascension? Can they go higher? They're in 5th right now. Can they get all the way up to the 1 or the 2 seed? They're only 2.5 back of 2 and 3.5 back of the 1.
Well, we are still very early in the season. We're still in its infancy. We're still in its preschool days. So, yeah.
Preschool.
Well, I mean, what would All-Star Game be? It'd be it's 13 years old, right?
All-Star Game is... We're about halfway through.
All-Star Game is halfway through, but that's not for a while.
All-Star Game is 2/3 of the way through. We're about halfway through the season right now.
Oh, wow. Has it really been that long?
Everybody's played between 38 and 41 games.
It doesn't seem like they've been playing that many, have they?
The Warriors have played 40 games, so a lot of teams are going to be at the halfway point today, tomorrow, the next day.
Okay. Okay. It seems like they've been playing a lot shorter, hasn't it, or is it just me?
I think with the NFL season, at the same time, it kind of doesn't make you see how many
games there are in a week. Yeah, that's a good point.
It kind of breaks it up, But once the NFL ends, here in a couple weeks, basketball really accelerates. It's the only thing on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I guess once it hits the All-Star game, it'll feel like more and more of a.
Maybe on Thursday we'll do our mid-season awards or something like that.
Yeah. It's a interesting time though.
Phoenix is 9 and 32, and Cleveland's 8 and 32.
Yeah. Well, poor Phoenix, but they're obviously in a rebuilding phase.
Maybe Phoenix will get a win tonight because they play a Kings team that's on the second night of a back-to-back. You never know.
I don't see it. They've lost 6 straight. And talk about losing 6 straight. Memphis also lost 6 straight. Talk about a fall from grace, right? They were what, in the top 5 in the NBA in record-wise?
They had a great start. They were definitely in the top 6,
now,
top 5.
You think it's a fluke now?
Oh yeah, the team is
lost 6 straight, man. That's.
I mean, I was never on that train. But yeah, they're 2-8 in their last 10. They lost 6 straight.
All right. Let me just ask you: of the Western Conference teams, I'll ask about the East as well. Of all the 8 teams in the Western Conference, top 8 teams right now, the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Thunder, the Clippers, the Rockets, the Spurs, the Trailblazers, and the Lakers. Who do you see not making the playoffs?
I think if one of those teams doesn't make the playoffs, it's Portland.
Okay. That is they are 7th. They're in front of the Lakers by a couple games. They're 24 and 17 compared to the Lakers 22 and 19.
I say that because they're 14 and 14 in the conference. They're the one team in the top 8 that isn't above 500 in conference play. So with more conference opponents coming up,
yeah,
I could see them falling, and maybe a team like Sacramento or Utah
They
gets
had a pretty
above.
light schedule. And so, yeah, both Utah and Sacramento have been playing pretty tough schedules. And let's go to East. I'm not going to say the Bucks and the Raptors or the Pacers because they're obviously making the playoffs, right? I think it's like a foregone conclusion.
I think the top 5 are in the playoffs.
So the Bucks, the Raptors, Pacers, 76ers, and Celtics?
Yeah, I think
so.
You can pencil
Between
them
the
in.
Heat, the Hornets, and the Nets, who are the 3 teams left in the East in the playoffs, who do you see not making it?
Probably the Hornets.
So you see the Nets holding on? Or
I say that
maybe even all 3 teams not make the playoffs?
I definitely don't think that it's. I think there's a chance that Brooklyn and the Hornets will not make it, but I definitely think if you're asking me who I think has a better chance between those two, it might be surprising, but I am saying Brooklyn, and I say that because Charlotte, they just
only have one guy.
They don't win on the road. Like I don't think they're going to continue to be. They're 14-8 at home.
No matter how hard Kemba Walker plays, you need more than one guy.
So
and he's not a guy that can single-handedly carry a team.
When I look at Brooklyn, I see a team that's 10-11 at home, 10-11 on the road, which means they're fairly the same team everywhere. Charlotte, they're just so up and down. On the road, they have 5 wins. Like, come on. You have 5 wins on the road. The Cavaliers have 3 wins on the road. Like, you're basically the Cavaliers when you're on the road.
And, okay, there's 3 other teams that have a chance to make the playoffs. The 16-24 Wizards, the 17-23 Magic, and the 17-21 Pistons. Do you see those 3 teams swapping with Miami, Charlotte, and Brooklyn?
Detroit definitely has a chance. I don't see
Detroit
Orlando.
used to be number 1 in the East.
Yeah, I don't see Orlando doing it. I don't.
Seeing them play the other day, not just against Sacramento, but just other teams, they just don't look like a team to me. They don't look like a complete team. They're getting there.
They don't score.
Yeah, they just need.
Who's their best scorer?
Aaron Gordon, I want to say.
Yeah, or Vucevic or Fournier.
Gordon's not even that better of a shooter. He's more of a flashy dunker, I would say, than anything else.
I mean, right now there is only 2 teams. Is it 2? Yes. There's only 2 NBA teams that have scored less points than the Orlando Magic, and that is Chicago and Cleveland.
And they're the bottom of the barrel.
Yes.
Well, and the Knicks. But Bulls have lost 4 straight. They're both 10-30, the Knicks and the Bulls.
It's just really hard for me to see Charlotte.
Okay. Let me ask you
up
this.
top.
Of the teams that are most likely going to be in the lottery, who do you see getting the first pick?
Well, I think for sure Phoenix will have the worst record.
Yes, but do you think they'll get the first pick?
I mean, I don't know. It's a lottery, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think Phoenix will have the highest odds because I think that even though I believe Cleveland is
Cavaliers has the worst record,
and I believe the Cavaliers are the worst team. They play against easier opponents every night, where Phoenix is just going to get mauled most nights in the West. Like they're just going to get crushed most of the time.
9 times out of 10.
If you put Cleveland in the West, they'd probably have 4 wins right now.
Yeah. God, that's being generous, to be honest with you. But I think we should take a short break. But let me ask you this. What would it be like if we all listen more? Listening to audiobooks inspires us, motivates us, even brings us closer. And there's no better place to listen than Audible. Audible has the largest selection of audiobooks on the planet, and now Audible members get more than ever before. Each month they get 3 titles of their choice. 1 audiobook, 2 Audible originals, and finished programs they can't get anywhere else. There's never been a better time to experience Audible. Try it free for 30 days by visiting audible.com/GSMCbook or texting the code GSMCbook to 500-500. Once again, if you want to try Audible free for 30 days, go to audible.com/GSMCbook or text the code GSMCbook to 500-500.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast.
Yes.
We are in the last segment. So, we have just talked about the Spurs, the Lakers, the Rockets, the T-Wolves.
All teams that are relevant, basically.
We got
no disrespect to the other teams.
We got to talk about some politics here. Yes, politics. Enes Kanter. He has decided not to travel to London for the January 17th game against the Wizards because he fears for his life because of the ongoing clash he has with Turkish President Recep Erdogan.
That's kind of scary, huh?
It is kind of scary. He also is in a war of words with former NBA player Hito Turkoglu, who's now a chief advisor to the president of Turkey.
Is he really?
He is.
Wow. Man, being popular in America really makes you popular in your home country.
And Hito Turkoglu was critical of Kanter, saying that he is not going because of visa issues, not because that he's actually fearful for his life. He's trying to get the limelight with irrational justifications and political remarks. So,
that's an interesting situation.
what do you make of this?
First of all, I did not know Hito Turkoglu was
right
part
here.
of actually the Turkish political party.
Enes Kanter told reporters at the Knicks shoot-around Monday that Turkoglu was likely being told to say those things directly from the president.
That just adding fuel to the fire. Mm-hmm. Don't you think so?
He says if you look at his Twitter, it's in 3 languages, German, English, and Turkish, and that he knows for a fact that he does not speak German.
Ooh, interesting. Well, he can always have someone translate it. Doesn't mean...
What do you think about this, though? Would you go if you were Enes Kanter? Because he was indicted by the Istanbul Cybercrimes Investigations Bureau last year because of hurtful and humiliating comments made about Turkoglu. He could be jailed.
What were his exact comments? Do you know?
I don't know.
I don't remember him saying anything about Hito Turkoglu. I haven't heard about Hito Turkoglu since he was in the league. That was like in 2003.
Kanter says that he believes he could be killed if he travels to London because they have a lot of spies there. I can get killed very easy. It'll be a very ugly situation.
That's a little tinfoil hat kind of talk.
You believe that?
Well,
how do you know?
I'm just saying, like how he explains himself sounds kind of suspicious. But I will say that I understand if you fear your life, you shouldn't do something about it. You shouldn't do it. Like if he legitimately does fear his life, why would he go?
He's not going.
Obviously, that's my point. Mm-hmm. And they're gonna play the defensive game. Like, oh wait, this is not the reason he's not coming here. This is all wrong. Obviously, you're not gonna say, yeah, we're gonna kill him. Like, what do you expect them to respond to? You know. But I think it's one of the more along lines of this is an argument between It's a touchy subject.
In 2016, Kanter spoke out against the president after a bombing in the city's the capital of Turkey in Ankara. Kanter, who has received death threats, supports.
There it is. There's the reason.
He supports Fethullah Gulen, a U.S.-based Turkish cleric who's been exiled from Turkey and is a bitter rival of Erdogan's. The Turkish government has accused Gulen of masterminding a failed military coup in 2016. Which
a military coup. Okay, now this is starting to make sense.
Yes. So, yeah,
when you receive death threats, you got to take those seriously. Nowadays, you got to take them seriously.
So we'll see what happens with this situation. Kanter is also on the trade block, so he has other things on his mind.
Do you think he'll get traded before this game? Obviously not, but
I mean, he's not going to go.
Yeah,
he already said that. But
I'm just saying, random example.
I think he'll get traded because I think he's a decent player. I don't.
What would you give up for him?
I mean,
second round pick.
Basketball's. It's hard to say what I'd give up for him because it depends on the team. But he's definitely a good player.
Yes, he would definitely boost a team's defense for sure. Mm-hmm. And that's what a team should go for. If the team's struggling on defense, that's what they should be looking at.
He can score too. You know?
Yes, but if your team's already scoring, it would help to get a scorer back, sure. But I mean, his defense would be the most crucial thing you're looking at.
Mm-hmm. His last 3 games. 17 points, 12 rebounds in 20 minutes. 16 points, 15 rebounds in 27
I'm not
minutes.
taking back how as bad as shooting is. I'm not. I didn't ever said that. I'm just saying that his defense.
I'm not being critical of what you said. I'm highlighting how good he's been.
Yeah,
18 points, 14 rebounds in 29 minutes.
He's a contributor, and he's just on the wrong. Him and Porzingis are on the wrong team. And Porzingis is also being heavily looked at, I believe, by another team, if I'm not mistaken.
He's got to play first.
Yeah, true. But apparently, some teams are also looking and see if they can get him.
which absolutely.
Honestly, that would be a steal as well. Like I would give a first-round pick for Porzingis if I'm an owner.
So I think, he's going to demand more than that, I believe.
But I'm just saying, as an example, like you would give up a good chunk for Porzingis, and it's so funny we say that now because as soon as he was drafted, there was people booing and crying about it. Like this is the worst draft pick ever, and now he's the best player on that team. Him and Cantor are.
Who, Porzingis?
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't played in a while though.
Well, I'm just saying once when he was
he was a great draft pick.
Yeah, but I'm saying at that point now he's looked at as a commodity.
Yeah, if he can stay healthy, he's an intriguing player for sure.
That's why Cantor I feel like is more of a valuable trade offer because he's healthy.
Right. So you want to talk about Kevin Love?
Yes, the Cavaliers are kind of stuck with him at the moment. Some execs even say he's like a $144 million. Let's see what
liability.
Liability, yeah, or $140 million trap, or like a cage, or something like that. Something along the lines of like, this guy is not. He's not worth.
It's like John Wall, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, you're looking at the fact that Kevin Love was brought in for LeBron James to win a championship. I think that was an obvious statement. But I think more along the lines of this is Kevin Love. Oh no, this an NBA exec says he's stuck with a $144 million dinosaur, and he is up there in age. Granted, he is injury prone, but they are stuck with this huge contract. In
Do you
July,
think he meant dinosaur as him being old, or do you think a dinosaur as him being like
extinct,
like not relevant anymore?
I guess you can take it both ways.
Because I don't think he's that old, right?
Well, he's injury prone a lot, and that
he is.
Yeah, but he did sign in July a 4-year, $120.4 million extension.
And when was that extension signed?
In July
of this year.
Of 2018. This season, we'll say, this off season. So
God, that's bad.
And ever since that signing, everyone was saying why, because there was no use, there was no need for it.
It's bad for them because they're going through a rebuild, and they don't need that contract.
So, do you see any team taking that contract? I don't.
They might have to be the team that gives up a pick just to get rid of that contract, to be honest with you.
Well, first round, second round pick? Maybe a second round, I would say.
It's just going to take a team. If a team's going to take him off of the Cavaliers' hands, they're going to probably want something in return.
Obviously, whoever trades for Kevin Love is going to win that trade, because they're going to get something even better with him, and not just him.
Yeah, they're going to...
Because the Cavs
there has to be another move.
The Cavs desperately need to get rid of this contract.
Yeah, maybe. I mean...
Well, maybe not desperately, but...
They're not going anywhere for a while.
This was not a smart decision by management. I think that's obvious.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the timing of that deal, they already knew LeBron was gone. They signed him.
And by July, he was probably gone. Or was he not gone then?
So the T-Wolves...
When did he sign with L.A.? Was it July?
Early July.
So probably at around that time, they knew he was gone. So yeah, good point.
T-Wolves Thunder tonight on NBA TV. It's not a home game for Minnesota, so it is Ryan Saunders' first game in charge for the Timberwolves, but it will be a road game. Do you expect the Thunder to win this easily, or are we going to see a rejuvenated Minnesota team come out and maybe nick a game?
I don't think they're going to come back just like that. Just like a snap of a finger, boom, they're back in contention. I think it's going to take some time. But I do see a more competitive Timberwolves team in the future. In this game, I see a competitive Timberwolves team.
Friday night, they're home against the Mavericks. It'll be Ryan Saunders' debut as a coach. That will be something to look for.
On Friday, you say?
I believe it's Friday. It'll be a nice reception for him. But
it'll be against the Mavericks.
Mm-hmm.
Who are like roughly they're 18-22, so very much they're one behind the Wolves.
There's not a lot of interesting games tonight, but tomorrow night, Wednesday night, the Bucks at the Rockets.
That's a good game to watch.
Pacers,
2 potential MVP candidates in Harden and Giannis.
Yeah, that'll be a fun game.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about Pacers?
This is a test game for Bucks. When Bucks face a Western Conference team, it's a test to see if they're actually that good.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously their schedule is weaker than most Western Conference teams because they play Eastern Conference teams. This is the test. I know they beat they played the Raptors and they're above the Raptors in the standings, but whenever they play any Western Conference team, is going to be a test.
It'll be a clash of styles, too, because the Rockets like to jack up a lot of threes.
And they are a power team. Like, Giannis is a powerhouse. He's inside, down and dirty.
So following the excitement of that game, another Wednesday night matchup, Pacers at Celtics.
That one's also interesting. We have two of the best Eastern Conference teams. Pacers are, I feel like, the better team at the moment right now compared to the Celtics, momentum-wise. The Pacers are just overall a great team, and I think they're very underrated because of the fact they really don't have any superstars, you can say.
Yeah.
And the Celtics have Kyrie and Howard and all that stuff.
Hayward,
sorry. Did I say Howard? I meant Hayward. But it's still one of those things in where you got to look at the fact that people look at superstars rather than a team itself, and the Celtics look like the better team because they have Kyrie.
And then tomorrow night on ESPN, the Detroit Pistons at the Los Angeles Lakers. Are you interested in that game?
Yeah, a little bit. I could see some
Blake
excitement.
Griffin. Probably won't see LeBron. He'll be out, but Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram on ESPN. It'll be a nice national TV game to watch.
Oh yeah.
I think it'll be a good game.
It'll
be
be something in the middle of the week. You go, oh, that's nice.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add?
The season's getting more and more good as the years
maybe next podcast we'll do a mid-season awards. Talk
like
about college basketball. In fact, there is an interesting upset that happened in the women's game in college basketball.
Oh, we got to talk about that a little bit.
We'll talk about that next.
Well, we got to talk about it right now, just real quick.
Oh, you want to talk about it right now?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
UConn's historical over 120 game undefeated streak regular season streak has come to an end at a loss to Baylor. The streak is over. This legendary, unbeatable streak is over. And I think that's insane. UConn has been the absolute monsters of the women's basketball, college basketball world. And looking at their 12-1 now. They won their previous game against Houston. University of Houston, not the Rockets. But
that would be incredible.
If they did, if they beat them by 20, I'd be extremely impressed. But I think one of the main factors of this is UConn lost to Baylor 68-57. So they lost by over 10 points. And obviously, it's a huge upset but I still think they're going to win the national championship.
They fell to 3 in the rankings.
Well, I mean, if you lose by that much pretty handily, it's going to drop you. But does this make Baylor the better team? Who knows in the long run? But I'm excited to see what happens. It's making the women's basketball, college basketball, a little more interesting because we've seen UConn dominate year after year, year after year. Now we're seeing some interesting stuff.
Absolutely.
Now we're done.
All right. Join us on Thursday. Take care. Enjoy your basketball this week, and we'll see you then.
And make sure to tune into our football podcast, our fantasy football podcast, our baseball podcast, our soccer podcast, and our all sports podcast that happens every day.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.